Climate Wisdom from COP30 Belém.
Welcome to our Climate Wisdom live stream from COP30 Climate Change Conference in Belém, Brazil. We bring together delegates from civil society, from faith, science and policy making to care, to share and to inspire. My name is Sonja Ohlsson. I'm from Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative and I will be moderating tonight's conversation. And the topic tonight is the future we choose to build. And it goes very well with yesterday's intervention in the climate change conference, because negotiations has been stuck for a while, and there was 80 countries going together demanding a clear roadmap to phase out fossil fuels. And I was thinking, how does a future without fossil fuels look like in reality? Can you imagine it? Can you see it in front of you, both the speakers and the listeners? What is a future without fossil fuels looking like? So that will lead me into tonight's conversation and our two distinguished guest speakers, Budi Tjahjono, and you are from Franciscans International, and Sister Jayanti from Brahma Kumaris, Additional Administrator Head, Brahma Kumaris. So most welcome.
Thank you.
About the future we want to build. And Budi, you are International Advocacy Director at the Franciscans International, and you have been over 2 decades of work in the UN and at the grassroots level, specifically in human rights and justice. So I wanted to ask you, before we look into the future, can we look into the past? And let's go 800 years back. Back to Francis of Assisi. Can we say that he was one of the world's first environmentalists? Could you share with us some of his reflection on nature and care for creation that still speaks to us today?
Thank you, Sonja. Thank you very much for the invitations, and I feel very honored to be able to be here with Sister Jayanti, with you, and also with the Brahma Kumaris community and beyond. And I think this is very timely for us to have an exchange, to share ideas on what we can do together regarding the future. So, St. Francis started already 800 years ago, and it's very important that the idea of caring our planet is not something new. It is something that has been there for centuries, and I'm sure that St. Francis was not the first. There were many others who had the same idea. However, it is very important that within the Christian faith, especially in the Catholic, St. Francis was very outspoken on that. So that is very important for us, that within the Christian faith, it is also important for us to go beyond anthropocentric, beyond the thinking that we are the center of this universe, we are the center of this world. So in that sense, he was very visionary, because he was a person who knew the importance of us as part of other being, of other creations. So therefore, St. Francis was known with his Canticle of Creatures, in which he mentioned about Sister Sun, Brother Moon, Sister and Mother Earth, and he treated other creations equal to us. And I think it's very important that we are equal to other creations. And for that, he was also known of being able to talk not only to human beings, but also to other creations. And St. Francis was also visionary in the sense that he dared to talk to the marginalized. He was known of someone who went to touch people with leprosy. At that time, it was considered as something to be avoided. They had to live outside. But St. Francis came and talked to them because he cared about those who are poor. And I think it's quite important for us to care about the poor, not only poor creatures, but also poor nature in which we made them poor. And St. Francis was also someone who talked to those who were considered as the other side. So dialogue is also very important for St. Francis. That's why he was also famous of being in dialogue with the Sultan. Instead of converting, he learned from the Sultan. He went to Egypt. And that's also the base of the interfaith, inter-religious dialogue.
Wow.
And one thing that we should not forget, St. Francis would not be a St. Francis without St. Clare. So St. Clare was an intellectual woman at that time who also in the same pathways as St. Francis, who went out from the so-called model society, and at that time in which women at that time was subordinate to men, women was not given the opportunity to think by themselves. But St. Clare was very brave in going out from the family, thinking about the theology, thinking about the nature, thinking about the relations, thinking about the poor. So I think it's quite important that the role of women during the life of St. Francis is equally important. So therefore, in this Franciscan spirituality, we also think about St. Clare. So that St. Clare and St. Francis, they work together. And I think it's very important to emphasize that.
How inspiring. I was remembering my visit to Assisi when I listening to you. He also met a lot of resistance, right, in the beginning?
Exactly. Of course, as someone who came from a business family, someone who came from a middle class, someone who came to be the hero in fighting for the glory of his region, of his family, and then he realized this is not the fight that he wanted to take. The fight that he wanted to take was the fight inside, in which he would inspire himself, but also inspire others by caring of the nature, caring of other being, caring of other creations, and dialoguing. So I think it's quite important that everyone has a fight, but how we take that fight and how far we can continue with that fight.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to stay with the past for a while. And Sister Jayanti, you've been representing Brahma Kumaris at the UN since the 80s, over 40 years of work with women, peace and sustainability. And you have also served closely with the founder of Brahma Kumaris. We fondly call him Brahma Baba. And back in the 60s, what do you think he would have said about the climate change conference if he would have been sitting here? And what would he have said about climate change in general?
I think he would have said that it's a very sad situation that humanity has created for itself, because it's not something that happened by accident, but people in their ignorance, and some even knowingly, just have been violating nature and being very aggressive at nature. And he would always say, it's important to give rather than to take. And what humanity has been doing is taking, especially from nature and the animal kingdom. So he would say, what you need to do is to take from above so that then you're able to give to humans and to animals and also to nature. So I think he would have wanted us to change our consciousness and turn it around in this way.
Interesting. There are many stories of our founder taking the sisters for a walk and taking them to the ocean. And they had a very close relationship with nature at those days, wasn't it?
Absolutely. They started in Karachi, so they were right at the ocean, and it was tropical, of course, and warm. They would go for picnics there and time spent in meditation, just sending out good thoughts and good wishes to the world. And then when they moved to Abu, and as you said, it would be walks in the mountains, but also spending time in meditation in the mountains, not just indoors, but outdoors, so that then again they could be in that unlimited space and share good vibrations with nature, other people, and the world at large. There was a nice story about Brahma Baba's love for animals. The gardener was an old man, and he wasn't a meditator. He was living in the village, but he would come, it was his job. And he came to Baba one day saying, Baba, the monkeys are taking all the mangoes from the trees. What should I do about them? I want to hit them. And he had a stick, and he was thumping the ground with a stick. And Baba looked at him and said, well, can the monkeys get mangoes from the market? We at least can go to the market and get mangoes, but let them enjoy. And so that was his attitude. It tells a lot, and of course it relates very closely with how St. Francis related to animal kingdom and the plant kingdom.
Beautiful. So let's go back to the present. Let's come to the present moment. And Budi, you are also very much engaged in human rights. But I'm not sure all listeners know the link between human rights and climate change. You want to share a bit about your work with all of us?
Thank you, Sonja. I think the simplified thing is that there is no human right if there's no planet. So that's very important. In order for us to enjoy the human right, we have to take care of our planet. Because what happens with our nature immediately affect us in many ways. I'll give you concrete examples coming from, I come from Indonesia, and we work a lot with our partners coming from Solomon Island, as well as in some of the Pacific states. And I could see by myself how the rising of sea level has affected people in the coastal area, in Solomon Island, in Kiribati, in Vanuatu, in many places, including in the Philippines, for example. When the sea level rise, the coastal area is affected. The coastal area for them is their source of livelihood. They get the mangrove, they get the palm, they get the food from the coastal area, as well as for the crops. That the crops, maize or some other thing, when the sea level rise reach the crops, it becomes salty and they cannot grow. So from that simple example, we know that the right to livelihood is affected by climate change, but also other rights, right to educations. And I went to Hutambu, which is in the western part of Guadalcanal Island in Solomon Island, when heavy rain came. Because of the deforestation, the water came down very quickly, destroyed the school, destroyed a neighborhood. And then students, they cannot go to school. It's a very concrete issue that even the right to educations of young people are affected because the forest has been destroyed, because of the change of weather pattern. And for them, it's about their future. If they can't get the educations, they are affected. Some other example will also include the right to health, because that's another story as well. At one point, we invited someone from Kiribati, and when that person from Kiribati came to our place, there was typhoon, and the hospital was affected. And because of the typhoon, the numbers of sick people, because of the water being contaminated, and they could not get the fresh water. It's also concrete example on how the right to health is affected by climate change. And there are so many other rights that are affected. We are quite lucky because we have been working at the United Nations Human Rights Mechanisms, including with the Brahma Kumaris together to the Geneva Interfaith Forum on Climate Change, Human Rights and Environment, in which the faith-based organization was the main motor in the establishment of the Special Rapporteur on Climate Change and Human Rights. So this is also to show that from the faith communities, we are not only talking about our conscience, but we are also talking about the importance of having legal framework to protect human rights from the impact of climate change. And there are so many other examples in which the faith-based organizations have been very active in not only providing the progressive way on the protections, but also providing the good practices and good example on how we can protect the human rights, because we are at the forefront. The story of the solar cooking in the Brahma Kumaris is a very concrete example. The story of change of lifestyle, as you also discussed. For us, lifestyle is quite important, because I think it's important for us not to consume too much. We just consume what we need. So I think it's quite important. So there are some good knowledge, example coming from faith-based organizations in really trying to not only promote, but protect human rights due to the climate change.
Thank you, and congratulations for all your work, really. Yes, I know you've been working very closely with Valerian on many of these issues for 15 years,
Yes.
20 years. Yes, fantastic job. Well done.
And we will continue to work,
Yes.
because the tasks are still a lot in front of us.
Yeah. And Sister Jayanti, I also know you care a lot about people experiencing injustice and suffering. You often talk about injustice, and you have dedicated your life to help others. Many people working for change today, they experience fatigue, compassion fatigue, or burnout. How do you maintain your inner balance and peace while deeply engaged with the world?
A few things that have been taught by Brahma Baba and also Dadi Janki. Many people know her, also an amazing leader. And the first thing is that make time for yourself. It's so important. It's so easy to just get lost in all the activity, but I need time to recharge my own inner battery. And so time for silence early in the morning, and then further spiritual studies so that I'm nourishing my mind and intellect so that I have capacity. And in fact, I can continually increase that capacity. So that's very important. But the second thing is the whole subject of what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And to know that I can only be an instrument for whatever it is I choose to do in my life. If I can take power from the divine and allow that power to reach others through what I say and do, it means that I'm not expending my own energy, but I'm simply being a channel. And so connected with the divine means that that power, that compassion, that kindness can work, but I'm not depleted at the end of the day. So many people I know who are on the field of service of others, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and really they're at the end of that stretch. They're not able to manage. Faith-based organizations is different because they all have this resource of connecting and recharging. But otherwise, when it's, say, people involved with poverty work or health, etc., they get depleted very quickly. And so I would say it's so important to make time for yourself, but also to feel that it's not you. When I think it's me that's doing it, I get heavy about it and I get burdened. But no, it's being a helping hand for God's task.
Amazing. You also have a daily practice like that?
I think what you said is completely important, and I think it's very important for us to remind ourselves that yes, we are the instruments of the divine. Can it be God? Can it be whatever we may call it? But it's very important that we are here because we are the instruments of the divine to be with others, to help the others. And the daily exercise of having a silent thinking on how God will use me today. How can I be useful for God and for others? I think it's very important because, as you rightly say, we can get lost very easily, very easily. And I have seen how many people who are burnt out because of that. So the good thing about us as faith-based organization, not that we are trying to show that we are better than others, but I think there's element of hope, the element of help, the element of being optimistic within us. So there is always the light at the end of the tunnel. And we know that if we walk, because we walk as an instrument of the divine, we can try at least to move forward toward that light. And it's very important, especially in the current situations, not only in COP30, but beyond. There are so many reasons for us to be hopeless. Yet, as faith-based organizations, as people of faith, we are here, we have that hope, and yes, we can do that. We can do as much as it helps us to go further.
But we also have to look after our faith colleagues because burnout is also within faith communities because it's just overwhelming the amount of work that needs to be done, and that is increasing, right?
That's very true. So caring each other is very important.
Yes, yeah.
And we need also to listen to others, to care to others. So I think I completely agree that it's not only the non-faith-based organization that have burnout, we do have. So I think community, helping each other among the faith communities is very important indeed.
Yeah. We will ask Sister Jayanti to guide a meditation for us now at the end. But I have one more question for you.
Yes.
And because the theme is the future today, and I was curious, What will the Franciscans do from now on? I mean, you and your work, what will you do from now on until next COP? What will the focus be? We're coming towards the end of the COP. You might not have an exact roadmap, as they say, for next year, but you might have an idea.
So indeed, because the road is still long, and then but we have the perspective that between now and COP31, there should be certain things that we need to do together. The two key issues that we are working is on the issue of just transitions, because the just transition perceived today is energy transition, but what we need is transformations, and the transformations of the economic system, the lifestyle, the political system. There are transformation of many things in which human being and the planet should be at the center. The creations, human being, the planet should be at the center. So we are working on that issue. We did study that we will publish very soon on the issue of just transitions from the perspective of faith-based communities. And then we are also working on loss and damage. But what we are trying to address is non-economic loss and damage, because life cannot be quantified always with money. And it's very important for us to look at the issue of identity, culture, faith that are affected by climate change. So not everything is about money, but there are things that beyond money. So we will focus on that. And the last thing that we are starting to make coalitions here and there is on the issue of right of nature. Because until now, right of nature is not yet recognized, and there are so many debates here and there. So we are also exploring in honoring the Mother Earth that there is intrinsic value, that our Mother Earth has a right, and then we should support our Mother Earth, because there's no human right without planet.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you to both of you for caring, sharing, inspiring. And let's have a final wish, a good wish from Sister Jayanti here for all animals and all animal kingdom and for the earth. Yes.
Sitting quietly, reflecting on the things we've been talking about, I go into that sacred space within, the space which is my eternal identity, the awareness of the inner being, the soul. And in this awareness, I can sense the presence of the divine. And now, connected with the divine, we send out God's light, God's love, God's peace to the entire human family. And further, staying in this connection with the divine, we send out our thoughts to the animal kingdom so that they may feel secure and beloved. And God's light and love reaches the plant kingdom, and we give to nature love and light and peace and harmony. The entire planet and all within it and on it return to their original state of peace. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much. Very interesting conversation. I think it's first time we've gone 800 years back, isn't it?
Yes. Just to recall us that we are not only like this because of today, but there are some foremothers that have been working on this issue. It's very important.
Interesting to get Brahma Baba's story also. Yes. So thank you to to both of you, to our listeners for being with us, and thank to all the volunteers and supporters behind the scene. This is now the end of this theme, the future we build together. And please join us tomorrow for next live stream. and you find more information on echo.brahmakumaris.org. So thank you from tonight, and thank you from Belém, Brazil.